Hey guys, it's Jamie here, and today we're going to put together the Botanical flip folio. Do not feel limited by the design I go with. You can add extras, you can change it about. What I've done is I've followed up the printing instructions, and this is going to be the folio cover and inside papers. First thing we need to do is create a small spine in this area and this area, and the way we will do that is by measuring between these two for the width, noting where the halfway point is. Taking the scoreboard, we shall line up either side of that halfway point. Here's my halfway point, so either side we're going to go down, so we create a small spine area. And the same with this one. And we're going to fold along all the crease lines that we've made. Go and fold them down. And then you can see we've created a small spine. And we're doing the same on the next one. So now you can see that once the spine is done, there should be a reasonable clearance. If there isn't, you can trim a little off and get everything to line up, which I am going to do. I'll be trimming a little off the inside and also that outside. I'm going to put it on my cutting board and take the smallest amount off the edge. I deliberately haven't stained anything with my vintage photo until now, because I want you to see and decide whether you want to use this or not. So along the spine, I'm going to go on the edge, both sides. For me, this gives it a bit more definition, but obviously it's personal taste. And then I am going to turn it the other way and do the same thing. So crease it down, go along that side. The second spine crease, go along again. Now what I will probably do is just go round the edge of this as well to pick up those edges. This cover is 200 GSM, so it's a lightweight cardstock. On your pack you have these panels which will be sitting over those white areas. I will be staining the edges of those as well. For gluing my panels on, I have a combination of Pritt Stick and art glitter glue in a small dispense bottle. This is because I want to try and play to line them up. I find that although a glue stick's quite good, the edges can lift. Take the fine wet glue along the edge. This is 120 paper, which is like a good quality paper rather than cardstock. Burnish that down as well. I'm going to do the same on that back panel. Before we attach the very front panel, we want to make the closure. Emma has given you these circles, which if you print on cardstock, you use 2 and then top with that one. I actually have already got some buttons that I've punched a hole out of that will fit a brad. I'm looking for a colour I like that will go with the kit. There's a purple that matches that. All we're going to do is decide where on here we want it and poke a hole through so that your wings will separate and not be seen, because they're going to separate on this piece of paper which is going to be glued down. You want this loose enough that you would be able to put a thread under there, so leave a little bit of room here. You can use an all-purpose glue on this, like a Fabri-Tac. I use an all-purpose Uhu glue, which is already running. It does tend to get everywhere, this stuff. I want to try and get them lined up at the same height as the others and a similar sort of width away from the spines. Again, burnish that down. That's the front cover done. Now we're going to work on the inside. On the cardstock, I've printed the 2 long pockets, and they're going to face each other on those 2 outer panels. I'll be edging those as well. To put these in, we're going to do a thin bead of glue along the top edge, the bottom edge and the outside edge. When you put it down, you want to give it a little squeeze inwards, because by doing that you're going to create a slightly deeper pocket, and we squeeze it together and go along there. The central area is where we're doing the flip envelopes. I've already cut them out. The way these will work is anything with a slanted edge is giving us depth to the envelope. Anything with a straight edge is creating our flip. I'm not going to get the scoreboard back out for these. What I will do is go along the line with a scoring tool. And we bend the ones with the slanted edge inwards. Burnish them down. That will be coming over to meet, so you still have this. I have already scored it, but you still have that flap area. Using the vintage photo, I'm going to go along some of these edges. You will see a bit of the inside of the envelope, which is why I've printed it with the backing paper, not straight onto white, but it doesn't hurt to also then add some stain to the inside. Remembering to keep that away, be gluing them together along this edge. Bring it all together, press it down to make a flip pocket. If you're using wet glue, it gives you that opportunity to just play and line things up nicely. I think there are 8 pockets in total. You want to make them all up. I've made up all the pockets, and we do have repeating patterns, and we want to be careful that we get a fair sort of spread of patterns going up the page. I'm going to start with this blue one. Positioning, I'm going to go up about an inch on those spine lines and line up with that inch mark. We put the glue down. I'm using wet glue because it gives me an opportunity to play with the positioning before it dries. The way I'm going to line them up next is to place this one at the top of that hinge, I think. I'll just have a look. Yeah, because then you get quite a nice staggered effect. So you create that waterfall. We'll just check how that spine's doing. That's fine. Still closing. Yep, on both sides. It will be seen as green and then flip down to blue, so we'll go that way. We got these little notebooks that I just printed one side and then printed the other with the plain. All we need to do with those is fold them in half and pop them into the pockets. We've been given 2 little longer booklets. What I will probably do is add some extra papers. The way I've got my extra papers together is to use some from the main Botanicals kit for June, which is a big kit, but I have backed it with the backing paper you get in the kit, so you could just add plain paper all the way through or use this paper. I'm going to add probably 3 pages to each one, and everything's going to need inking. To put the little booklet together, we're going to use a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, which means I'm going to measure the halfway point on here. This is only approximate anyway. Come down a bit from the top, say 1.5, up a bit from the bottom, another 1.5, just so I know where I'm going to be punching. I'm going to take a old book, get a spine that I can punch into so it cradles my notelet, and punch 3 holes through. Found a peg, that will do, just so things don't move too much. Taking a large eye needle blunt end. I have some wax thread, but you can use pure beeswax to wax embroidery thread, or you don't even have to wax it. You want about 3 lengths. Nice and simple stitch to do. You go through the middle, hold enough spare there, come up through the bottom, through your cover, through the pages, up all the way to the top, go through, back to the middle, and coming up the other side of this central thread, one end one side, one end the other side, pull it tight. That is your booklet basically put together as soon as you knot this. Knot it 2 or 3 times. Cut the threads to the length you want. Now you have a little booklet. As you can see, it's quite a pretty little booklet that someone can write in. Got actually a reasonable amount of blank pages, plus you've got all those notelets. That's one booklet. Make the other booklet exactly the same way, and when we close that up, which it does, we could do with something that goes around here. I have some natural string, so tie it under here. We're going to go round here. Any which way will kind of secure this down and give it a closure, a little bit of a dangle there, and that is our folio.